진짜 좋은 챔피언이거든요. 그러니까 다른 챔피언 하지 마시고 원딜 많이 좀 해주셨으면 좋겠습니다. 그리고 항상 응원해주셔서 정말 감사하고 열심히 하길 테니까 더 많은 응원과 관심 부탁드립니다.
이제 젠지 그 2팀 남았잖아요. 두 팀이 다 저희 위에 있잖아요. 저희가 잘하면은 끌어내릴 수 있단 말이죠.
그렇죠.
각오하세요.
Welcome back, fans of League of Legends here in Korea. We are beginning LCK on a Sunday. It's raining outside, but it's nice and warm and cozy. And here with us, and Gen.G and Afreeca, who are going to be playing tonight. Two different AD carries, bot lane strategy match is going to be coming to us. Papa Smithy, how are you doing?
I'm feeling good. Stay a while and listen to the tales of two very strong teams. Two teams we expect to be in the top 5. Gen.G will not be at Rift Rivals. The world champions not making it there, but the Afreeca Freecs in our first series and Katie Rolster in the second series, both are going to be looking to go to Rift Rivals on a victory. It's possible, but I'm sure a lot of people today look at Gen.G's record, the fact that they can move to 8-1 by the end of the first round robin if they win their next two series, and say maybe they come in slight favorites.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good start here for Gen.G, you know, starting off with 6-1, and we didn't really expect them to come in this strong, right? But on the backs of their bottom lane, in fact, Ruler and CoreJJ in the bottom side. Ruler playing only 80 carries so far and carrying on them really hard. CoreJJ, of course, always behind him, just helping out with that. It's been really good for them, whereas Afreeca, I feel like, as a whole, look kind of more better as a unit.
I think Gen.G's a new hotness to a lot of people, and you look at the scoreboard, you can't really complain, but I must admit, I'm still a skeptic. I still feel like the old Gen.G, KSV, Samsung problems of small champion pools are going to hit them, and maybe not right now. Maybe they'll need a couple more patch shifts for it to fully emerge, but I just look at the fact that Fly is still playing about 4 champions, that yes, the marksmen are working out on the bot side, but soon there'll be more marksman players joining them. I don't know if it's necessarily going to come true. I just look at it and be skeptical. That said, Afreeca Freecs haven't looked fantastic in recent memory, and there's no reason Gen.G couldn't win today.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close one. I would predict 2-1 either way. If I had to lean one way, I would say Gen.G. I feel like they've been on a roll with that bottom lane. And just as a unit in total, I mean, I was talking about the bottom lane, but even Haru is looking fantastic in the jungle as well. And speaking of which, let's introduce that team that I'm talking about, Gen.G. Over here, starting on the blue side tonight. We'll see who they are going to play. Unfortunately for all you Crown fans out there, Fly has been just looking way too good, and he's going to stay in the line up alongside Haru.
Well, no one will see Crown. I think he'll play games this season, but it seems like second round robin will have to be his debut. Looking at the roster here, no surprises. Of course, Cuvée is there. No sign of Mong. He's not back. Fly, you know, adjusting himself, sniffing a bit, saying, maybe I want to play Zoe today. He's on the blue side. It's possible. And Fly was always famous for those power naps.
He's just taking a small, 5-second nap. He's like, oh, was I asleep there? Sorry about that. Didn't know I was on camera. Gen.G having a good time, and they should be very successful so far.
And if they win, as SpoTV puts it, they'll be first, because good news, they've played more series than Griffin, who still have 2 to play. And remember, they'll be first for a long time. They'll be first for over 2 weeks, because Griffin doesn't play again till Wednesday of the following week. Guys, remember, final match day before the Rift Rivals break. Also, potentially final match day on 8-12. We might be saying goodbye to Aatrox today.
Most likely is the case. And speaking of which, a team that loves to play that Aatrox for Keen up in the top side. This is the Afreeca Freecs coming in with their standard lineup. And yeah, just as a whole, I feel like they definitely got behind this this new meta. I feel like they figured it out pretty well. I think their scrimming strategy with the 10 players, the 2 teams essentially that they do have in the team house, has helped them figure it out a little bit faster than other teams.
On the red side, I think aiming is the preferable choice, because Yasuo, Vlad, Mord, he's played mostly the non-80 carries. We know he's a strong marksman player as well, so Flexibility-wise, I think it works on the red side. And again, we have 4 series to end our week that have basically a send-off for each of the Rift Rivals teams. So far, we've seen Kingzone go over Hanwha Life. That was a 2-1, and a bit of a turnaround after Hanwha Life won game 1. SKT, comfortable winners over BBQ. Now today, Afreeca Freecs and KT Rolster in those Korean goodbyes before they head over to Dalian, China.
Yeah. Says it up there at the top that they are going to the Rift Rivals, and yeah, they were in second place, finalist behind Kingzone. Happy Spirit Day. It says happy birthday to him on the left. Oh, it actually has it in English too. Didn't have to translate that for you guys, but yeah, I suppose it must be his birthday sometime soon.
In Korea, it's all about the match days, and actually it is today. Normally it's just the match day slightly before, afterwards. But happy birthday to Spirit, a player who's played all around the world, known to many, LCK champion as well, and a runners-up in spring season. Let's go over the key points, though. Gen.G looking to finish first overall by going to 7-1 first, and looking at the numbers, everything pretty clean. We're not actually surfacing the number that caught me the most off guard a couple of days ago, but their average game time is the shortest of any team.
I would assume that it still is there, even after they played another match after that stat was shown. But yeah, I mean, this is new Gen.G, essentially. They put their aggressive jungler into the jungle ahead of Ambition. Haru comes out most of the time. And while they've been able to accelerate it very, very fast off of the back of 80 carries, too. You know, they're playing 80 carries that require a little bit more scaling, and still they're very short in their game time.
Vision control always being strong for the Afreeca Freecs. The statement around the Gen.G just avoid ultimates was because Ruler was lifting off during those Camille ultimates and popping them with the Ruler Xayah ultimate. That was very nice mechanics from him, showing off a mechanic that other people have done but haven't been as clearly done as for Afreeca. It's about vision control, it's about picks. Kuro points into your soul. The other thing for Afreeca has been top lane. If Keen gets ahead, the game looks very easy. If he doesn't, they actually labor to pick up most of their victories.
It definitely feels like that has been a small backstory for a lot of this new meta. It's just, if the top laners turn out to do well, then the game goes very well, even amongst all the focus into the bottom lane. But let's take a look at a guy who lives in the bottom lane. It's CoreJJ. He's always behind Ruler, and I'm sure that Gen.G loves that.
Honestly, 8 games this season, his job has been to stand behind Ruler, eat him when he needs to. That's all he has to do. He plays Tahm Kench, 7-1. On the pick, the Ezreal Tahm Kench lane that Gen.G just can't seem to get on blue side anymore, was certainly their go-to. We'll see what they default to, because after the Tahm Kench and Rakan, it's 2 games or less for all of CoreJJ's picks.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like you can ban out the CoreJJ if you want to, but then if you're doing that, there are so many other picks that will be left open. You know, say a Camille for Haru or a Lulu for Fly, even though the Lulu has been taking a little bit of a backseat in the recent patch.
You know who's not taking a backseat? It's Spirit. And the stat you want to look at in the middle of the screen, his average deaths for junglers is 16th. May wonder how many junglers have played this season. Jungle, a very frequent sub. There's been 17. Ironically, his opponent, Haru, is the only person with less average deaths. So Haru's played a decent amount of games. We actually have the 2 junglers that tend to go pretty immortal in their games.
That's really cool to see. I mean, I would have loved to have seen exactly how many average deaths Haru has. Probably 1.4, if I had to guess. But yeah, I mean, they're just great at doing well into the jungle. Even though it says that Spirit loves to fight, you'll notice that his KDA for junglers, even though his average death is low, is very high here at 3rd place, above 5. So Spirit definitely coming in, being very consistent in summer, whereas in spring we saw a lot of Mowgli. Even in the finals, you know, Mowgli came in and substituted out Spirit on his birthday, one of the younger players we have, but so far in summer we haven't really seen too many signs of Mowgli coming out.
And also when it comes to Rift Rivals, they've already put their lineup together, and it will not be Mowgli going over. It's going to be Tucson and the 2 80 carries in the bot lane. So Aiming and Kramer both going over there. Each matchup here is Aiming versus Ruler. One on the left only plays 80 carries, only player in the LCK to stick with them. The guy on the right, you know, he plays a bit of everything.
Look at his KDA, one of the highest that we have here in the LCK summer, 9.4. This guy does really, really well. Now, Afreeca, they've only lost 2 series, and it was 1-2, both to Kingzone and to Hanwha Life. And I think that one of the series, he didn't even play. It must have been Kramer, because he only has 2 losses, and they're both on 80 carries, Ezreal and Kai'Sa. But if you put him on Yasuo and Vlad, he's 3-0. Mord, he's 2-0. And then Xayah is the only 80 carry that he's actually won on, and he's only 1-0. So aiming very successful so far in the bottom side for the Afreeca Freecs. I would love to see him come out consistently and actually not have Kramer come in.
And I believe that Xayah game, if memory serves, is in the mid lane actually in a funnel from my memory. So
there you go. Yeah.
Bot lane has definitely been the off meta for him. Excited for this match. Should be a lot of fun between Afreeca and Gen.G. A potential best of 5 when we hit the playoffs. Also, maybe even in the regional qualifiers, Valdez. Very likely we see these two teams play each other again.
Well, guys, we're going to jump in and pick him down for game 1, and let's see how this all pans out.
Swain becoming a very popular blue side ban, and Cuvée, as more of a tank player, says no, no, no to the Aatrox. Cuvé's only relevant carry recently has been that 80 cannon that he loves to play, the on-hit build. On the red side already, Ezreal Tahm Kench duo been banned away as the Tahm Kench been removed from core JJ. Wonder if Rakan first pick is a potential if it's not addressed. And speaking of being addressed, Spirit is probably our best Nocturne player in the league, and only one person has got to play it. On patch 8.12, that was Score and taking down Griffin, so no Nocturne allowed.
This is what I was thinking about. You know, you ban out the Camille from Har, you ban out the Tahm Kench, almost a necessity away from core JJ. But it just leaves so much open. The Zoe's still available for Fly, but the Rakan comes in here as the obvious pick. Now, Afreeca thinking about countering by picking up the Xayah.
Xayah-Rakan duo is so powerful as that flex in the mid lane and bot lane, and the fact that it kind of wins basically every lane bot lane in the majority of times. So I actually like the takeaway from Afreeca. They could still be funneling also. Even if it isn't Xayah-Rakan, you could still make it happen. But when you go for Zoe, it makes it less likely to just power pick Xayah. The opposite of the Afreeca playbook, because usually Afreeca were Rakan X rather than Xayah X when it comes to separating the Xayah-Rakan. Got the Zoe as well. See what Fly's answer is. Usually you'd expect the Galio with the Rakan as a conduit. A Galio comp could certainly be coming out from Gen.G.
Yeah, that'd be a nice couple of picks. You know, you got Ruler 5-1 on the Ezreal. A fantastic pick for him. 4-0 on the Xayah, but he got denied on that pick. The Ezreal gets locked in. I'm definitely feeling that Galio energy. It seems like a very nice ban for Afreeca to just easily take away if they don't pick it up here.
Would have to mean a second round jungler for Gen.G. So waiting to see what happens here. This would be our first Lulu in any role on 8-12, and they'll actually take it. Very interesting. Very much expected to be a mid lane Lulu because they already have Rakan in the lineup. But all right, Fly did play it quite a lot on 8-11. He's currently sitting at 3-3, so a frequent pick, but pretty severe nerfs to the Lulu. Is interesting to see the priority there from Gen.G.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a head scratcher, but we'll see if they can prove it to us. Maybe it's been working in scrims, and then they bring it out here, and they're just interested in getting Ruler fed and supporting him with another supportive mid pick with the Lulu. It's not what we expected, but I can see it working.
It's been a very heads-up draft rather than just let's ban power picks. Because you notice Sejuani actually falls all the way to final pick on red side because Afreeca were first focused on getting the Xayah-Zoe duo. So Sejuani seen as the strongest jungler right now, and Trundle, the common answer, going to be easily banned. That last pick on the red side. We always talk about first pick on the second round and last pick on the second round, or the second round strength of red side. Also the ability at Kuro's pick to select something and then ban counters gives no ability to respond for the enemy team. So the Sejuani, on paper, should get a very nice matchup.
Yeah, just go ahead and ban out the Mundo 2. The Shen gets taken away here. A couple of supports that are very high up nowadays are the Alistar and Shen, especially in the melee matchup. But there you go. There's another one. Tushin just auto-locks it in. Bit of a smirk on his face. We'll have another Blitzcrank here in LCK.
He sees 3 champions that you're happy to hook, and why not go for it? It's not in the same scenario we saw from Kingzone, where that was with a Morgana that allowed the Blitzcrank to roam. They fall behind in bot lane. They're not going to be doing a whole hell of a lot of roaming with this Blitzcrank, but very, very hyped to see. Tushin hasn't been one of our best Blitzcrank players, but he wants to show something here. And now Gen.G rounding out their draft. Will they draft a damaged jungler, a Kindred here, would be something to consider and would be a big pick for Haru. It was that kind of player. He likes the aggression, but no, it's going to be a bit more about the pick. Seems like they're going to at least consider it, and they will go Kindred. Okay, Kindred was the one they were setting up for. You think of Lulu and you think, okay, need damage. Where's the damage? Where's the damage? Nice to see it there with the Kindred.
Yeah, Skarner would have been a little bit weird. You would have been relying only on Ruler's Ezreal, which is, you know, when you say it, it doesn't sound all that bad, but on the composition, doesn't sound too great. So Kindred comes in. The only tankiness they have in the lineup now is Ornn. So I hope he's the one getting hooked there by the Blitzcrank. Afreeca gonna round out their lineup with the Gangplank in the top lane.
Afreeca could have gone for a very measured draft. At the first pick on the red side, on the second round, they could have gone for a much more balanced support and then also got the counter pick top lane, which is what Keen is looking for. We've talked about his struggles when he hasn't been able to get the counter pick. They instead roll the dice on another engage tool in the Blitzcrank and get the Keen pick. So to me, I'm going to be very interested to see how the 2v2 goes, because aiming's on an 80 carry, which he struggled with on the bot side, has a win on Xayah, but I believe that was funneling in mid lane. Gen.G are on Gen.G normalcy. So let's see how the Blitzcrank goes, because the Blitzcrank's probably going to have to lane a lot, and that's usually a bad sign for the robot.
Yeah, definitely is. You were talking about Keen in the top side. He hasn't played any games of Gangplank this split. He's played Aatrox, Darius a whole bunch, and then Jax 2-1, Jace 1-1. So he is bringing in a bit of a new pick here up against the Ornn. The Darius was not banned, was not picked at all. He could have picked that up against the Ornn, but he decides that he wants to play Gangplank into this Ornn instead. Feels like perhaps he can get a bit greedier and just try to farm it out and get to that late game.
This should be a really fun one. Afreeca Freecs, I like that drop. They've got a lot going on here, but if Haru gets going, and it definitely fits his play style to be on the Kindred. We've seen some Kindreds pop off in Europe. We also saw Score with one game in the LCK. Can he make it work here? Whenever you see someone like Haru on aggression, you know there could be a lot of fun to see.
He's got to fly in the mid lane on the Lulu too. Let's see if they can hold hands and run to the jungle, secure those scuttle crabs, and get ahead there. Very excited to see Haru on that pick. Going to be the first for either of these two junglers to pick up the Kindred, and Haru is going to debut it here in this matchup. So here we go, guys. The countdown has started. Let's jump into game number 1 right now. Here we go, guys. Match 38. Very close to the halfway point here, as almost every team has played 8 games. Will be the case after tonight.
We're very close to already having an NALCS splits worth of games. I believe we entered today at 82, so 86 is the least we could have, and 90 is an entire NALCS season. Best of 1 v BO3. Always, you know we're going to win. And the amount of games, speaking of the amount of games, look at how much parity there has been since the start of 2017. 11-10, just slightly over the 50% mark here for Gen.G.
The thing that pops out is Gen.G defeating Afreeca 3-2 in the Worlds qualifiers, that best of 5. Imagine if Gen.G didn't win that. They wouldn't have been at Worlds, and they would not have won Worlds. But one game away, and, well, they made it through.
That was a series with the Lulu coming out from Spirit as well. A lot of creativity was on display there. Speaking of creativity, the bot lane again is my one concern for Afreeca, because I think they've done a lot of nice things, getting the Xayah and denying the Xayah Rakan flex from the side of Gen.G, and that was a good idea. And in general, the Gangplank is in a good spot. But consider that Aiming has played 380 carries, 2 in the bot lane, 1 in the mid lane. The mid lane one with Spirit on the Rakan was the Xayah, so he is 1-0, but he's opting into not this season's norm for him. He's opting away from the normalcy for him, which was the Vladimir and the other mages and damage dealers in the bot lane, the bruisers as well, against the best 80 carry, the only 80 carry player we've had in Korea only when it comes to Ruler and Core JJ, who've been on these marksman duos the entire time. Going away from your recent comfort is a bit of a risk, even though Aiming has of course, logged many, many games as a marksman. recent practice can be so important. We see meta picks come in and out, and players like Smeb ready to play the Rumble the moment it's buffed. There's very nice little juke there.
Well, you press the E once you get hooked as the Ezreal, and you hop back. The Arcane Shift, of course, that is the way. And the Blitzcrank was picked after the Ezreal.
Yep.
You know, so you have to think, like, he's not playing this so that he can counter the Ezreal in the lane. He's doing it so he can counter the other picks across the board from Gen.G. Gonna be curious to see if Deucin can pull it off. You know, he hasn't had that star-lit season that he did have in spring, where he was popping off on Alistar and Engaged champions. Alistar Rakan, very famous, but now he's looking to gain some star power back on the Blitzcrank.
I used his hook, hit a minion while Haru is close. Haru also has a Gromp to go to, and here he comes. Nice angle for Haru.
Oh, Aiming already has that nice knockup on Haru, but it's not going to be enough. First blood already to Haru on the Kindred, the easiest gank you've ever seen.
So simple for the Kindred. Easy pathing, easy angle. Tucson had brought the duo lane to the bot side of the bot lane, just to try to look for a hook, and then ended up getting hooked down, and really nothing you can contribute as a Blitzcrank. This is the worry I had is, again, a lot of their games they haven't logged on these duo lanes. They go for a very risky Blitzcrank when it comes to the 2v2 pick. And the Xayah won't help him roam, and when it's in the lane with the hook down, Blitzcrank does basically nothing.
Yeah, I mean, he got the knockup onto a Kindred, but what does that really do? Delays a little bit of damage. The Kindred hops forward, and he's like, I'm still here, Blitzcrank. You did literally nothing. Not even using the Ignite or the Flash. There was no purpose for that for Tucson. Now with Core JJ's Flash and Ignite down, maybe they can try to make a play happen onto the Rakan, but also not the easiest thing, as the Rakan is quite slippery.
It feels like bot side control will be on the side of Gen.G. Afreeca want to fight for it, because if you can get control wards down the river and a Blitzcrank that can leave lane, lots of good things can happen, but it's going to be tricky to get. We've seen a lot of Orns be able to pick up 1v1 cheese kills against champions like the Gangplank. We don't hear the sounds because we pulled out a little bit, but now we see Haru and Spirit meeting.
Well, Haru, after getting first blood, is going to run straight into Spirit here, trying to turn it back on the Keen. Is going to flash, and he gets the kill! Unbelievable, forcing the flash here out of Spirit. He should be able to pick it up, but 1v2. Haru already 2 kills in the game.
He already had the big purchase, and also those buffs on the Kindred are so clear. If you're joining us for a Kindred game in the LCK for the first time, the buff that was given is that when you Q, you now get 15% more attack speed than you did before 8-12. For context, you get 5% attack speed per mark. It's like spawning with 3 marks, and because he'd already been able to pull off a successful gank, he walks in 1v2, doesn't start doing damage until he's down to 200 health. The Keen even through the last bit of his mana, which was that orange, was still able to pick up the kill, get over, and, you know, if he started off on another 200 health, perhaps it was a double kill for the Kindred.
Comes in here, smites the Scuttle Crab away, and we've been putting a lot of focus onto Ruler in the bottom side, carrying with the marksman, but I did also mention Haru, he's a bit of a beast this season.
And on a multitude of picks, he's been playing some of the ambition champions, like the Sejuani, for example. Umti and Haru both showing that you can be an aggressive player and then just path aggressively as Sejuani and try to make things happen. A nice little start here for Gen.G. You still are worried. If the gold lead isn't huge, you can say that regardless of the 2v2, Blitzcrank has 4 people to hook on the enemy team. So one hook can win games. We've seen that in our solo queue games and in competitive play many times. So a lot of good things that come later on for Afreeca, but the momentum easily on the side of Gen.G.
Yeah, they're definitely feeling it right now. You guys can see the Scuttle Crab counter, the Spo TV exclusive up on the top side. 2-1 for Gen.G for the side of Haru, so getting that Kindred online also very important. Speaking of which, Kuro has been having fun in the mid lane. It looks like he's dominating, but the CS numbers are quite comparative here as Fly is keeping up.
When I saw the nurse to Lulu, I started to think about what use cases would be removed and what use cases were still there. And I thought mid lane Lulu was maybe the least likely place for her to go. The reason why I say that is the 6-second shield duration really helped with her trades. You know, whether you're going to use the E offensively or defensively is situational, but having a very long duration shield helps you to get those extra autos. The back end of trades can be very powerful. With a very short duration shield, in team fights we know that's going to be about timing, but in lane can really hurt the trades for the Lulu. So far, okay. Bot lane, the Kindred is back.
Tushin trying to bait a little bit, you'll notice. Killing that control ward, misses the hook. Spirit was down here, very, very close, but so was Haru. They didn't quite spot him, but the trouble bubble is going to land. And there you go, the ultimate comes in, and well, Kindred does a lot of damage, but if she can never attack, she's just gonna disappear. And that should be a second kill also over onto the Rakan, so Afreeca immediately turns it back.
And the timing was on point from Spirit. There never was a drop in CC for Haru to use. The Lamb's Respite was level 6, could not use his ultimate. Kindred from ahead, Kindred from behind. The pendulum swings quickly. It's not enough to rewrite the early game, but certainly a worrying moment for Haru. Gonna watch the replay, walks up for control ward. Consider he knows that Zoe's not in the mid lane already. The Zoe had already left the mid lane as he continued to auto attack the control ward, and 75 gold got them the enemy Lamb happy times.
Looks like that was out of vision too. The trouble bubble was already on the way as the ward was being placed there by Tucson. So Kuro, he's pretty happy. He got the Zoe. It was passed up on for the Rakan.
Fighting for the mark.
Draft. Okay, Haru not going to be able to win that one. Did have a smite available. He really did want to get that mark, but it was pushed away by the Zoe. He's going to have a traumatic experience with that Zoe. He doesn't want to be anywhere near her anymore.
Lulu and Kindred together are a very strong invading duo, so you can understand how Raptors looks like a camp you can contest. Zoe also has those lovely angles to hit you with a trouble bubble over the wall. So constantly have to reassess pre-QSS, which is going to be a necessary pickup for the Kindred as Haru continues the LCK trend of staying away from the Blood Razor, focusing on the Warrior for the damage trades, the more short damage trades rather than the dream of extended trades with the Blood Razor.
Yeah. Take a look at the items here already. The Ludens is complete for the Zoe. Skipped up on any boots, actually. Just decided that, hey, I'm not going to get that. And didn't take the free boots, has the stopwatch. And that's another thing to bring your attention to. There are 4 stopwatches on the side of Afreeca. Looks like only 1 on the side of Gen.G. So Afreeca, they're winning the stopwatch war again.
Afreeca had a game where they had 5 stopwatches earlier this week, so clearly Zephyr, Comet, and friends have definitely instilled the just buy stopwatch or just start with stopwatch meta. When it comes to the rune choices, Haru's going to be spotted walking over a lane ward, but big value on the ultimate there from Ruler. Does spot out the Sejuani as well. Information that the junglers are bot side for both teams.
Yeah, these 2 junglers have been hanging around here. There was only the one time that Haru went top for that gank and won the 1v2. But outside of that, they've just been in the bottom side, clearing out vision, trying to get the Scuttle Crab down here in the bottom side river, which is going to spawn here again.
I'm going to have a chat with our LCK junglers. Have a couple that I have a good relationship with because we actually have Kindred's skill order, and every Kindred you see in solo queue goes Blood Razor and E max second. We're actually seeing the old W max second coming through even after the E and W changes. So I'm going to have a chat with them. Seems like there's disagreement. However, you remember the issues I had with the Skarners not maxing E first when there was that huge buff to the ability, and it took a long time for the Korean junglers to adapt to the Western meta there. So try and get in their head. Don't really understand it personally.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see a bunch of the pro players in the back room watching specifically EU LCS. That's what I see a lot of the time. They'll have it on their phones. They'll just be watching it, scouting it, looking for picks. We've had players in interviews also say, you know, oh, I saw it in EU LCS the other night. I thought it was good. I asked my coach if I could play it, and then it showed up here in the LCK. So even though I know a lot of people feel like, hey, you know, the Korean meta kind of rules things, that's not always the case.
I mean, there's the historical data of European innovation, specifically the duo lane, and also at Worlds, often EU had the best meta read for week 1. But it's also, when people ask why not NA, one of the big reasons for that is time zone, actually. The EU LCS usually is between 12, like midnight or 1 a.m. start. So given that pro players go to bed around 4 a.m., they usually catch a couple of games incidentally, and that's why I imagine their eyes are naturally more drawn to EU.
Yeah, it makes sense. NA's on from like 5 to 9,
Yeah,
so
everyone is asleep.
literally the worst time zone you could have for NA here in Korea. Makes it hard for us to watch outside of VODs as well. But we get to it every so often. Mountain Drake is going to be picked up for the Kindred. Actually, very fast. Taru on top of that objective. There was the Scuttle Crab taken, but you just hop over the wall, take it, and then hop back. And, well, that's one of the other strengths of the Kindred.
And look, a lot of our viewers also are in bad time zones for NA. If I want to give you some advice, I recommend watching the Countdown, the 30-minute show that comes on before the NALCS. Has a lot of good recap, has a lot of funny skits, and in general, it's kind of a more digestible way if it's in a bad time zone. So shout out to those guys. It's really good content. Wish we could have our own countdown, but sadly, there was the countdown of Monte Cristo. That's gone,
yeah.
and now we just don't have a countdown.
The only countdowns we have are to get into the game. Spo TV has brought back the countdown up on the big screen, but no real countdown, no old-style countdown. We only have Papa's Mad Life.
That's true.
Well,
I haven't had an episode in a little while.
Yeah, we haven't really had too much time. The games have been good. There haven't been too many pauses. I would love if someone just went into all the quote-unquote episodes, right, and just linked them all together, edit them together, and actually make it into a real podcast. Like, throw that up on YouTube. Definitely go ahead and retweet
we got that sick pilot album art that someone made for us.
Yeah.
That was really cool. So I appreciate that. We also had the PTSD Achilleos clip. That was wonderful.
That was awesome. That was
Shout out to all the content creators out there. You've made some really fun stuff for some of our technical difficulties, I guess you would say, in the summer season. The howling meta seems to have gone.
We didn't last very long.
We're back
honestly.
to game issues, I think, mostly, and toilet issue at Spo TV, of course.
We had the audio issue here on Friday because they were using, what was that? Rate call, seemed like? Something like that.
It's in my contract to say raid call at least 4 times per week.
We mentioned how you're the guy who says it the most in the world currently.
That was a really weird thing for Riot to ask me to sign, but whatever, right?
Yeah.
You know?
They got their secret contracts, I guess.
Ever since Haru kind of, had to retreat, you've noticed that he's retreated in items. And in fact, the item choices for Gen.G are very defensive. First, Iceborne Gauntlet Ezreal we've seen in forever. Actually, the rush here from Ruler showing a lot of respect to the potential all-in. See Ninja Tabi quite a lot against champions like Xayah, so I guess you can understand the Iceborne Gauntlet from there. But it's also QSS next from Haru, who says, well, I still want the marks, but I don't want to die.
Well, that's a bit of a fluke by Spirit. You never really want to throw your Sejuani ultimate into a Rakan, because if he's paying attention and he's not on the phone with his girlfriend or something like that, he is just going to hop away. And that's exactly what CoreJJ did, which means that he doesn't have his ultimate now. CoreJJ can also easily just hop away. Had he had it there, he could have ulted him. He gets hooked, knocked up, hit by Zoe, and the Rakan dies.
Definitely had his wits around him a couple of times, JJ. I'm very interested to see where this game is going. It's a bit of a different draft than we've seen in recent times. When we see drafts like we see from Gen.G, very squishy drafts, usually it's King Zone with a Jace top lane and trying to play a map pressure game. That's not the draft we have from Gen.G. It's more of a pressure draft and also a team fighting draft with a lot of room for outplay from Haru and Ruler rather than the split pushing draft that we usually see. Some decent siege as well. Afreeca, we mentioned, had the kind of self-counter pick Blitzcrank, but a strong pick out of lane, and they're getting closer and closer to getting out of lane by slowing down the game with a couple of picks onto Haru. Teamfight-wise, my eyes are definitely suggesting that Afreeca will have easier teamfight execution and thus an advantage. But there's always outplay with a draft like Gen.G, so I think we're cresting towards some really fun fights.
It's going to be action-packed, no doubt. Blitzcrank always makes for fun games. And it's Tushin nonetheless, so we're going to be having him. I'm back to saying Tushin, by the way. I don't know why. It just randomly happened.
The accurate way, the Korean casters would say Tushin, but we've kind of always said Tushin here, so we'll stick with that.
Then we'd be saying Ed
That's
And,
true. That's the one where I draw the line, is that
Kajix.
technically the correct way to say ADD's name, at least according to him.
Ooh, okay, hold the phone. There's the knock-up, and that's what they were looking for. The hook comes in. This time, CoreJJ not able to escape.
Third time's the charm. They tried to line it up, and the first 2 times CoreJJ could get out. This time, once again, Wombo through a summoner. We've seen this a few times this week, is that the CC duration is overlapping. The CC comps are increasing. They get down a member. CoreJJ will go down. Nice little moment for Afreeca, and as these picks are buying them the time to get to items that early in the game were looking unlikely, it seemed like wherever Haru went, there'd be gold dust or fairy dust sprinkled in the air and good things would happen for Gen.G. Recently, it's been more like this.
Gets the angle. CoreJJ not showing the respect, wanted to get that control ward, but obviously it was not worth it in the end, as not the best start here for CoreJJ, down to 0 and 2 on this recon.
Now after dying, Aiming is only 15 to 20 CS behind his opponent and was able to go cull. So gold-wise, it's not going to be too much difference between the two. It's good stuff for Aiming and good stuff for the Afreeca Freecs. In my head, when I thought about my prediction, I was 2-1 Afreeca. I think you were kind of on the 2-1 Gen.G.
Yeah.
From what I was thinking, just because I think Afreeca haven't shown great drafts but have the potential for them. This would be a different one. This would be, all right, they can play just standard marksman bot lane, a strategy they haven't been doing in recent times. So the moment the draft came in, I was actually more towards Gen.G with the Blitzcrank, with the change in strategy. Keep up what you're good at. Don't try and risk too much. It's usually my adage for pro play. But so far, Tucson and the Afreeca Freecs, they are getting over the line, even though we've seen more hooks miss than hit.
Yeah. We take a look at the mid lane very often, but so far after the early game, Fly has been just flying by, flying smoothly there with even his cleanse still available. He's even ahead in CS. And it's really just been all about the bot lane in terms of action, because Spirit keeps hanging around here, so does Haru. And even Kuro seems to be getting the first roam down towards the bottom side, using those walls very well with the Zoe and their trouble bubble.
One mistake from Haru, and now Haru has really done nothing. You know, he's actually behind in farm to the Sejuani, even though Kindred is a super power farm, especially for those single target camps. The Scuttles are also being equal. The first 2, you remember, you already mentioned Valdez, went the way of Gen.G. So in terms of map pressure, Afreeca are actually creating more and more. They're getting control wards down to allow the Blitzcrank to roam. And now we're getting a repeat. It seems like we're getting the replay of these engages again and again from Spirit. He's back to this bot side.
Oh boy, fantastically hit onto Ruler. Is it going to matter in the end? The ultimate goes out of CoreJJ, and again he cannot get out. The Lamb's Respite is not on point there. The Ruler forced to flash away. Here comes Cube, but he's in the back line with 4 of them. We'll see if he can get out here. The Wild Growth's still available, and with the flash, flash hook tried here by Tushin, not going to come through. Kuro now trying to get out to Fly, but he still does have his cleanse. Lots of low members for Gen.G, but the TP comes in from Kive, and Keen just farming up at the top lane.
In a 4v5, it's pretty much the killing fields for only the Afreeca Freecs. Gen.G had no chance to show any sort of counterattack. Every time the Blitzcrank hook comes out, they've only got squishies to try to back up the person that's hooked. The Lulu needs to be in position to Wild Growth. The Ornn needs to be there first, but the Ornn is having to teleport in. So the Afreeca Freecs now have a pretty sizable gold lead for a game that started well in Gen.G's favor. We're waiting for a line skill shot to hit, and the Paddle Star was the true MVP. Had to use the Arcane Shift to get away, and then, yep, no one gets to press buttons on the team of Gen.G with the sort of CC chains that are possible. Roller just flashes away because he knows if he stays for the Lambs despite healing, he's going to die anyway. Through all of this, Afreeca Freecs clean up so easily. They weren't able to hit every skill shot, but every time you see a fight like this, remember, those flashes won't be up for the next time the Blitzcrank hook comes in.
And so far, the Rakan really hasn't been doing much. It was just a disaster of a fight right from the get-go, with CoreJJ trying to save Ruler's life, stepping in front, but again he gets hooked, and again he gets knocked up twice. As I said, Sejuani, it's just bad news bears for them in that fight, and they were just trying to disengage, and well, now they certainly have to take a very big step back. You have to play so passive with every flash down. basically, I suppose Haru and CoreJJ still have theirs, but as a team, they're behind in Summoners and they're behind in Gold by 4,000.
They're also out-comped 5v5 in the late game. We talked about that a couple of times. You're expecting already with the Kindred a snowball early game. It hasn't happened, and now actually they're behind in items. You look at some of the item pickups here. It's already 2 items on Kuro, and we're seeing Fly have to go extremely defensive, going for Banshee Veil as second item, even though he still has a stopwatch. Feels terrible, but it's the respect you need to show. Speaking of respect, control wards down, there's a Blitzcrank, where can you go? The answer to that question is certainly nowhere near a Cloud Drake. With the items where they're at, with an item lead for Afreeca Freecs, Gen.G can basically farm maybe their own camps, and even then, there's always that lingering risk.
Yeah, I mean, there are 4 forward wards actually in the red side by Afreeca after doing that Drake. So they have vision on everybody, and Gen.G basically has vision of only the Baron side here, which will eventually be cleaned out. And we talk about how Blitzcrank, not fantastic early on, but you have to respect the hook so much. It's not even about just getting hooked, it's about just not even getting close to that area, because one hook ends the fight.
And I'm kind of in the remember if they had a Galio kind of scenario now, because then they would have had 2 frontliners, and those times when CoreJJ was caught could have easily been turned around. So the Lulu pick here, while it certainly has the ability to win more if Haru's 5-0, at this position, it's a little bit different. We're seeing kind of the downside.
Maybe a bit of an idealistic draft from Gen.G. You know, just saying if everything goes really well, our comp is going to be bomb, but if things go badly, well, you can see what's happening now. And
does Kuro ever miss trouble bubbles?
No, it doesn't look like it. He's got all the angles here. He's got his, what do they call that? The protractor, the thing that gives you the angles.
Yep.
He knows what he's doing. He's playing the Zoe a lot. And, well, any mid laner should be playing this pick. It's basically first pick on the side of blue side. And by the way, it was available, but they decided to take Rakan instead.
YOLO.
Here we go, though. Let's try to take a Baron from behind. And let's hope that we don't get caught here. The TP is up, and oh, there you go! The Gangplank ultimate coming in, and immediately Haru just getting chunked to 10% health. They have to back off.
Kuro hit the exact person he needed to threaded it through, and if Cuve's not eating it, that's a problem. They need Cuve to stand in front of trouble bubbles. You can't juke. I know it's a hard thing to stop doing, juking skill shots, but Cuve's got to hit him. And unfortunately, he was the one that was able to just allow his jungler to get DPS'd out, as Keen is just playing solo queue.
Yeah.
He's playing a single-player version of League of Legends, apparently.
He barely has even seen the Ornn in his lane. He's like, okay, I'll take the top turret, and then I'll go bot, and I'll push in the inner turret.
Look, I'm usually really good in solo queue, especially in Korean solo queue. I just don't speak, but one of my favorite flames is when your top laner never groups, and you're like, how's your RPG going over there? Because he's definitely not grouping. A single player for Keen seems to go pretty well. He's, you know, pretty much just thrown ultimates at bad guys and stuck around, doing very little.
I mean, he's doing the right thing, essentially, right? They don't necessarily need him if he's picking up objectives, and Afreeca's winning 4v5 on the map, which is definitely what's happening. So the Gangplank is getting fed. Already 3 items. Everybody still has their stopwatch. Fans going wild for the hook on the Ezreal, but again, guys, it is Ezreal, which is the one good thing that Ruler has going for him in this game.
And Keen's got a good thing going. He's got the Storm Razor, baby, for the guaranteed crit on the first barrel, and even just the first parlay most of the time. Gold lead getting out of hand for the squishy Gen.G lineup. They've also paid the QSS tax. They filed for their taxes, Valdez, but their taxes are leaving them looking pretty far behind.
Yep, rough tax bracket here for Gen.G. See if they can work through it. Now 7,000 gold behind. Afreeca really taking control of this game in a big way. Spirit on the Sejuani, even though early it looked like the Haru show with his flashy moves and the 1v2 against Keen. Spirit quietly getting 2-0 and 3, a couple of fantastic ultimates too.
Let's play a game. You're someone on Gen.G. How do you check the Baron? Because, you know, is Ornn going to ult the Baron? Because that's the only ability they have to range check it, and everyone else dies instantly. Where are the enemy team is a question that is so scary for Gen.G. You know, the boogeyman could be out there. There could definitely be bad guys under your bed. All those childhood nightmares are being enacted every time Afreeca just disengages towards the Baron.
If you don't have Ornn ult or True Shot Barrage, and you don't really want to expend those ultimates, and here we go, the Trouble Bubble lands, and maybe they can get the engage here. Gonna be knocking up Xayah in the back, but aiming does get the Featherstorm off, and Ornn ultimate comes on through, is gonna knock him up, but look at Kane in the back line, takes out Ruler, the first one to use the stopwatch on the side. The flash over by Tucson, that was really, really close. Not able to confirm the kill, but they get Ruler, the big carry of Gen.G.
That was probably the best case scenario for the side of Gen.G, and yet unable to do enough. They do clear the ward, so this should be Gen.G knowing they're on Baron. But what can they do to stop it? We already mentioned it's so hard.
Yeah, I mean, Keen comes through, he's super fast.
A Trouble Bubble missed. We caught one.
It missed, but it's the perfect zone. Look at that, it actually contains the entire
So you're saying it hit?
Walkway, basically. It hit the right target, even if it wasn't a champion, and the superb zoning comes out. And let's take a look again at how Kive gets caught here and how they follow up.
Trouble Bubble on the biggest member. They have to be careful. They don't actually want to opt into a team-wide wild growth, and the wild growth actually goes on Core JJ after he's already disengaged, so they don't get more CC out of it.
It'd be nice to have that on Ruler just about now, wouldn't you think?
Keen walks up, able to buy time. He wouldn't have died even if he didn't use his stopwatch. Tucson almost with a pretty swag hook, but misses it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, at least he looked cool. But things are getting really out of hands now. 9,000 gold with the Baron ahead here for Afreeca. The Xayah seems unkillable, even though she was the one person that didn't pick up the stopwatch. And Zoe doing incredible amounts of damage. Almost was able to pick off Fly in the back line with a fancy flash forward, but didn't quite happen. Still laying down the damage, and there you have it. Zoe is doing her thing.
But that's not the number to look at. Look at the number for the Kindred. Kindred from behind. This game started so well, but just Haru made kind of one invade too many, got caught, and from there has done nothing this game. Absolutely has not been able to have a fallback pattern, and that's the reason a lot of teams won't pick Kindred. I'm a fan of the pick when they picked it, and if you can play it, and Haru is the sort of player you would think of, it can be so strong. But what is the fallback pattern of a Sejuani when she dies at level 2 or level 3? Well, farm, and I'm going to be able to team fight without many items. The fallback for a Kindred is not to get any marks, not to really be able to farm too many lanes. Can be tricky to gank a lot of them as well, and unfortunately in team fights, you're seeing the fallback pattern. It's to do very little.
Yeah. She got zoned too. Haru wasn't in the right spot. Just one auto. The Aerie goes on a Ruler, a desperate Ornn ultimate here to try to knock them back and clear the minion line here. They are able to hold on for now, but still a minute 30 of Baron left over, and everything for Afreeca still available. There's the ult hitting forward. They are going to hook up the Ornn. They don't even care this time. The Wild Growth going to kill him through that. Now the flash on Haru as Keen wants the kill, but Afreeca looking so confident, super far ahead. Going to be able to take out the mid inhibitor.
So easy for the Afreeca Freecs. We mentioned already what we liked about their team fight. It was supposed to be a late game analysis, late game early. Guess they got their Christmas bonus in July. Happy times for the Afreeca Freecs. They back away, go down the bot lane. The items are now just completely out of order. We're going to watch the replay, and the target acquisition has gone from hit anyone other than the Ornn to just hit anyone, and that includes the Ornn.
Looked like it almost hit Ruler, but the bigger Ornn hitbox, I suppose. It lands onto him. The arcane shift out from Ruler. Both Haru and Ruler can do pretty much zero in this fight. Just getting pummeled without a tank. No call of the Forge God as it was used earlier. And another disaster of a fight for Gen.G.
What does it mean for Gen.G? In terms of draft, we really wanted to see the Galio, and we got the Lulu, and unfortunately that hasn't worked. The Kindred pick with the Galio, again, would have had more synergy, so feels like those two picks were kind of disconnected unless Haru got snowballing, and then he got snowballing, and that would have been just analysis that never would have been discussed. Was amazing Kindred pick. Look how many kills he has. Instead, you made the mistake, you pay the price, and now the price is that things really look pretty shoddy on the side of Gen.G. You wonder if Ambition will actually be playing in game number 2.
It's definitely an option that they have. I think they've been a lot more successful with Haru, and maybe throw him on a pick that's not the Kindred for game 2, and you might be still okay with that. But definitely the big question still remains is the Galio, you know. He's 3-0 on the pick. They just decided, no, we want the Lulu instead in tandem with the Kindred, but even the Galio in tandem with the Kindred wouldn't have been all that bad.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Lambs
Yeah,
are
that's pretty
spiky, you
good.
know, you keep it up, you stay alive, you have the hero's entrance, the damage reduction. Galio comes in and tanks everything, works well with the Rakan too.
The thing I always said about mid lane global champions like TF and Galio is it makes an aggressive jungler god because they invade and you know Galio and TF are going to be there first. So enemy jungler's like, well, I'm giving up my red, now my Raptors, now the Scuttle, now the Drake. That's the sort of thing you have. There's similar abilities for Lulu, but against Zoe, she's just going to shove and then leave. She's not actually going to be able to rotate particularly faster. And we saw more out of Trouble Bubbles over the wall than we ever saw from the Lulu in this game.
Lane was very even, or Fly was getting pushed in by Kuro after he got the very early loot-ins. So definitely seems to be not the best choice in this draft. Kind of sitting back with the defensive Banshee's Veil in Holy Grail and is just sitting there like, well, I don't really have much of a job in this game. I know it's kind of gotten out of hand now with the Afreeca about 11,000 gold ahead, but let's see. Trying to get onto Kive once again. There it is, forces the flash out of him. Nicely done by Spirit. They can just back off and wait for the next objective.
Kive's the only one who can push forward because he's the only one who's tanky. But even he has to use his flash in response to the goon squad of Afreeca Freecs coming down looking to kill him. Now Gen.G to sit back and kind of wait to, you know, accept their fate. There really isn't much ability for them to do anything 11,000 gold behind. They don't control anywhere on the map unless they pop sweepers and have an entire team of 5 walking in a direction. That's what it feels like to lose, Valdez.
I know this feeling very well. I've played my fair share of solo queue. It's not a good feeling. I mean, even the Rakan out of Core JJ, it was his second pick right behind the Tompkins. It was the obvious one. They first picked it ahead of the Zoe and Xayah. And that might have been another misstep because it really has not been performing here without the Xayah in this game.
Meanwhile, the Xayah has Infinity Edge and is just a monster. Despite aiming, I feel like there's another game of aiming where he didn't really do anything notable, but, you know, obviously was fine.
He survived.
Tucson's Blitzcrank was pretty poor, all things considered. They're trying for a pick, but optimistic.
He's going to land on the fly. He does have his cleanse. Popping forward now is the Zoe, but yeah, just a little bit of desperation. They're looking for any pick they can get right now.
They also have to Ornn ultimate because Baron is coming up and they have no vision in the area, and getting vision in the area is now going to be really hard with the Ornn ultimate down.
Trying to pop forward now. The two-shot barrage, the other one, is going to be used. Tushin hop forward. They get onto Kive once again. He's got a stopwatch, though. So does Spirit, but here's Core JJ going to go in onto Keen, but Keen just laughs in his face and runs away. There's the flash to the forward, and he gets the knockup on a Core JJ. He does live, though, in the back line. Lancer Spite keeping everybody alive here. Spirit, though, not going to go down. Finally does on the left side. And so many low members, but look at Ruler. He's still got full health. Can he go 1v4? Kuro, though, on the right side, rather than the left side, looking to paddle star people. This is just about as good as a fight as you can get right now for Gen.G when they're 12,000 gold behind.
There's a lot of mobility on the 3 remaining members, so they can't close the gap on them. Looking for the interrupt here, but well, one's dead.
Yeah, that's going to be the Lulu. See you later. Sorry about that, Fly. He's going to get his first death in this game. Ruler and Core JJ still on the run. Ruler hasn't given up yet on contesting the Elder Drake.
The reason why they're still stopping them is look at the minion waves in bot and top. They're huge, and that's why there's really no good decisions left at all. Minions pushing in every lane at the same time. You very rarely see this, given they weren't gardening that much just before. Watch the Elder. It's going to go down. Picked up in the end by aiming 2-stack Elder. And all Ruler can do is stop one of his side lane turrets from going down.
I mean, the fight wasn't even perfect, right?
Yep.
We're going to take another look at it now, but Ruler, I mean, he did a good job of trying to keep their hopes alive.
The big thing here is that Afreeca aren't able to instant kill the first person. While a lot of people fall low, they're able to back away as a team and get huge value out of Lambs despite the damage is obscene. as you're noticing about
barrel.
this. But when you actually see the further engagement, the flashes in, Lamb's Respite gets a massive amount of value. Spirit has a huge health lead, basically has to suicide into the backline to make things happen. It's 4v3 with a health lead, with a damage lead, but actually chasing down further kills was almost impossible for Afreeca. However, it's not really in service of anything as we get the superpowered double buff coming for the Afreeca Freecs in the picture-in-picture.
Yeah, looks pretty. I mean, Ruler, we know he's fantastic on the Ezreal, but he might be eating a second loss on the pick here as they've got Elder, they've got Baron. There was no contest by Gen.G, of course. And here comes that final push. Afreeca looking to end the game.
Flash on Haru, flash on Ruler. They're going to need them. We'll see how patient Afreeca are. They don't have their side lanes and anyone in the same spot. Korean Castle got excited about a hook onto not a champion. What a noob. He can hear me.
You're a noob.
Speaking of,
Kuro's not a noob. He says actually Ruler's the noob as he does get popped there like a little fly. And well, Cuvée with no 80 carry is going to go down too. It turns out Zoe might be the MVP of this one. Nice ultimate pops forward onto Fly, who does wild grow to survive. But there you have it. Almost an obscene fight there. That's the Zoe that we all know and truly do love here at LCK. As Afreeca, they are going to push forward their gigantic lead to win game number 1. Nice little Zonius pose there. 14-3, 38 minutes. Afreeca win.
definitely took a lot of time. We labored to actually get the win time, but the amount of time Afreeca was ahead was pretty significant. Haru went down twice. The first time stole the momentum, the second time killed the momentum. From there, the Sejuani gets a farm lead. The map control for the Blitzcrank and friends was massive. There just was no comeback mechanic. Too squishy, not the ability to grow a farm lead. Gen.G out of this one pretty early, but 38 minutes, the final timer.
Yeah, took a while there. Nicely done by Afreeca. I feel like they definitely won the draft and they played it very well. The Blitzcrank getting that value, especially later on in the game. A couple of picks on a core JJ, and you can see he's not very pleased, as Tucson definitely won the support battle in game one.
And Haru looked a bit quizzical. All the members of Gen.G looking a bit quizzical. Again, not sure who to expect in the roster for the second game. Haru's had good games on the Sejuani, so maybe Sejuani priority goes up, and they're still able to do just fine in game number 2. The side of Afreeca Freecs, a lot to feel good about. Their draft was risky. They ran a marksman in the bot lane. They hadn't won with one of those this season. They ran the Blitzcrank in a bad laning matchup. Still didn't matter. Afreeca Freecs able to stick the line. Let's get a short replay here of the end of the game. Remember when there was Ruler? He's at full health with a shield, and then he dies.
It was just the Paddle Star area.
Yeah, it was also, I believe, the W maybe. It looked like there was some extra
maybe
damage.
one W.
I love that
Maybe it was just the Paddle Star and the W, not the area. Area looks late.
If they clip it out, it's going to be you saying, what a noob, and then him dying instantly. Oh, so funny.
Perfect timing. Guys, we'll be back in 10 minutes for game 2.